Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2, tearing down the MAXXFORCE DT. So the way you can tell your emissions year is on top of the engine. Climb up here. Right where this little square is, there's supposed to be a tag. Well, this one's missing. But that's your emissions tag, and it'll have a year on there. Now just because this truck's a 2010, that doesn't mean it's a 2010 engine emissions year. This was a 2007 emissions year, which means that's when the EPA makes their changes and they have to be certified based on that year's emission standards. So 2007 was used from 2007 production all the way through the end of 2009. 2010 production through 2013 production, I think, was 2010 emissions, and so on and so forth. But one easy way to tell is if it's a MAXXFORCE DT, it's got EGR coolers on both sides, it's got a DPF filter underneath, and it's got single turbo. And that'll tell you it's a 2007 emissions. Now if it has all that, but it does not have a particulate filter, then that is a DT466E, probably 2005 emissions. You can see this is a really clean truck. I've taken used to be a 7-Up truck, I've taken the 7-Up decals off the side and cleaned it up a little bit. Kind of put the cart before the horse because it still doesn't run yet, but we'll get there. I bought this thing to pull my gooseneck trailer around, and I think even if I fixed everything back to stock, even with the emissions problems that these can have, I'm not using it enough for it to be a huge issue. The other thing is, this was a beverage tractor, so it was driven in the city, stop and go, from gas station to convenience store, delivering soda. And that's pretty hard. There's a lot of idle time, and that's what clogs up these filters. And it's really hard on these emission systems. My use is going to be highway use, pulling my gooseneck trailer, so going down the highway, these have an opportunity to clean themselves. They clean the filter out. They call it passive regen, where just by the exhaust temperatures going down the highway and pulling hard continuously, it burns off that soot in the exhaust. And sitting idle, it can't do that. It has to do an active regen where it actually injects fuel and heats up the exhaust really hot, and it's not a good thing, especially if you're parked in dry grass or something where it's flammability is an issue. But I think my use will keep this thing going for a long time. One of the things we need to do before we start pulling the head or any of the EGR coolers is we got to drain the coolant, because all that stuff resides in the same place. And if you go down here on the driver's side behind the pitman arm, you will see a petcock where you can drain the radiator as well as most of the block. There'll still be some residual in there, but we'll address that when we get a lot further. Now that the turbocharger's out of the way, we can kind of see in here. This is the turbocharger oil supply line. There's a drain tube for the turbo that goes down into that hole in the side of the block. So here's your oil cooler. Those, not a super common problem, but that is a problem that is encountered with those things leaking. And then this thing right here can be an issue. We're probably going to have to address this based on the amount of soot that I'm seeing. This is an oil separator and crankcase breather, and what it tries to do is capture any oil vapor or any liquid oil before it's drained overboard, for so we're not dumping oil over the highway. These have a little spinny deal in it. They work off like centrifugal force, and once they stop spinning and kind of plug up, they're about $700 to buy a new one. I've seen some kits where you can rebuild them, and I've seen some people clean old ones and make them work again. We're going to try that first, but hopefully I won't have to buy a new one, but we might. The way this EGR system works is you can see this exhaust manifold right here on the very back behind that coolant tube. It takes some of the exhaust out of the manifold. It goes up into this hot side cooler, cools it down a little bit, sends it up and over to the other side, and you can see it comes up and over here, this crossover tube, to the EGR valve. The EGR valve is operated by the computer, tells it how much and when to send exhaust gases back through the intake. So when it opens, it allows it to flow through the cool side cooler, and that also has coolant flowing through it, comes out the other side and goes down into the intake manifold and recirculates some of your exhaust back into your intake. A little bit of good news. I took this turbocharger and cleaned it up, and it spins really nice now. So we might have just saved $2,000. I would be absolutely thrilled if that was the case. Let's move that out of the way. So I've also cleaned this piece up. All of these little veins are moving freely. We need to put this ring back on. I cleaned it up. It cleaned up nice. All these little squares on here all spin nice and freely. So what we have to do is we have to figure out our clocking as to which one of these three gaps that'll sit in, and then we have to align all of these the same so we can set this down in there. And based on this dowel hole right here, corresponds with the opposite side of the actuator. So our big square will go opposite of the dowel hole. So good, we know that. And now we can just align all these. And wiggle it around until all the squares fall in. There we go. Okay, and you can kind of see the veins down in there. And as this thing gets moved, how the variable geometry works. Pretty cool. And then we'll set this back on there, align it with the pin, and turbo should be good to go. Got a little further, got the exhaust manifolds off. Let's take a look over here. Sorry I couldn't film actually removing it. It's real tight spaces in here and I just didn't have room for the camera. But there are 2 bolts per cylinder there where the exhaust manifold bolts on. There's a tube that runs up in this corner for a sensor that hooks to the exhaust manifold. I think it's a exhaust back pressure sensor. I took the EGR cooler, the hot side, off with the manifold. That is the coolant tube that feeds the hot side EGR cooler. And I did have to, it was a little hard to get some of the EGR ducting out, so I did unhook the air conditioning compressor, pull it out. I'm hoping not to actually have to disconnect it and drain all the Freon, but we'll see, because I do have to take, there's a bracket off right behind it and I gotta remove a little bit later, as well as this hose. But this hose has one of these permanent crimps instead of a clamp on it, so I actually have to take the water neck off with it and get that out of the way. And this side should be, for the most part, done. I may unhook these and just get them out of the way so we don't get hooked on anything. And here's the exhaust manifold. Got all the bolts stuck back in there so I knew what order they went in. That coolant tube that feeds the EGR cooler goes in right here, just 1 bolt. This bracket that holds the EGR cooler came off with it because I still had it hooked up there. less pieces to take apart, less things potentially to go wrong. This EGR cooler's pretty nasty inside. I may have to flush it out with something. But clean coolant came out of it. And here's the sensor I was talking about that needed to be unplugged up there. On the driver's side of the engine, there's a few things that need to come off. This whole fuel filter assembly needs to come off. It's not too bad. It's got 4 bolts, 2 there, 2 on the back side. That fuel line with the compression bushing in it. This one's just O-rings. It's pretty easy. Take this line off top and bottom. It comes out of the way pretty easy. I've got this. This one's a little tougher, and there's a return line on the bottom there, that gray line right there. That one's got to come off. It's got this clip on it, and I actually broke that one getting it off. They're kind of brittle. That assembly comes off, and then we'll finish getting this EGR cooler out of the way. I'm going to try to leave it in kind of a big piece, unhook it there at the intake, and then I'm going to take out these couple big bolts down here. I've already taken the EGR valve off. It's got a couple of hoses that go to the coolant tank, and of course the gasket and 3 bolts that hold the EGR valve onto there. I'll show you the EGR valve. EGR valve is this guy right here. Even though it does kind of come apart if you buy the new piece, I believe they only sell it in the whole assembly. It is looking kind of gross in there, but that's kind of to be expected with what we're dealing with. EGR cooler's out now, the cold side. You can see it's got this little thing that sticks out in the flange. It goes into the intake. The exhaust gases come out that into your inflowing clean air. That's to do your EGR. A couple hoses to disconnect. These are kind of hard to get to because there's not enough room to pull it out without pulling out that fuel filter thing first. But anyways, then you can see the EGR valve goes on there, and that opens up quite a bit of room under here. Of course, we still got to pull this intake hose off of here, that little throttle body deal. Of course, fuel filter still, and then we're going to have to get in here, take this fan pulley off, and actually remove the fan bracket, because that is bolted to the front of the head. We're going to leave this on because that's going to be one of our lifting points potentially, or we might use the one over there. Of course, valve cover, and once we get under the valve cover, we'll have a bunch more. This is your harness that goes in, runs all your injectors and all that stuff. Goes actually through the valve cover gasket. The valve cover gasket's kind of expensive because it has all the wires running through it. And then we will probably pull the intake manifold. I may try to leave it on for pulling it. We'll see when we get there. A couple hours later, we've got the fan taken off. There's 3 bolts that hold the fan mounting bracket onto the front. You're really supposed to take the fan clutch off to make all that work. It would have been a lot easier. However, I was able to take the pulley off, slide the pulley forward, and just squeeze a 1/4-inch ratchet back behind there and take them all out at the same time, and squeeze it out the top between the shroud. And we got the intake manifold off. That wasn't fun, especially the rear bolts, because there's all these harness mounting brackets and little relays for the grid heater all back there, but we got it pulled out. Normally you can take these dog houses out of the inside of the cab fairly easily. I actually tried doing that, and it was not easy on this truck. I finally gave up and decided I'm gonna keep trudging along from under the hood. I've capped all the critical lines, such as, that was torn off already, fuel lines, high pressure oil lines, and that sort of thing, so that they don't get any dirt in here, because obviously I have to leave it tore apart while I'm waiting on parts and cleaning things, and dusty New Mexico is not friendly to parts cleaning. Here's a better look at that fan. You can see I got the bolts just stuck in there, but they went into the head that way, all 3 of these, and that's what the fan mounts on. And if we come over here, there's our grid heater inside our intake. This is the little butterfly valve that opens and closes the throttle. This right here is your high pressure oil line that goes from the high pressure oil pump to the head. Of course, our fuel canister with our fuel filter and strainer in it. That came off fairly easily. Intake hose from the intercooler to the throttle body. And the intake manifold. This thing is disgusting. Look at all that soot and buildup inside there. That's all that recycled exhaust from the EGR system. That's why these engines get such a bad rap. Due to the dirty nature of them, they tend to damage themselves. But yeah, that's how far we got so far. Now the next steps are going to be to pull the valve cover gasket and harness, and then we'll get into the oil passages for the high pressure oil. And the manual says to pull the injectors before you pull the head. I don't quite understand why, but we'll go ahead and do that just because it says to. Then we start pulling rockers and then head bolts, and should be ready to lift. I'm probably going to end up taking this plastic piece off of here along with the wipers off, just so I can get a nice balanced hook on it with the crane when I go to lift. But that's where we're at so far. Let's see what else we can get done.